you or Sitaramji or anybody who's been working towards an opposition unity for now over 5 years, I think, if I'm not wrong, is to get KCR, Sharad Pawar, Mamta, Akhilesh, Mayawati, who have I left out? Tejasvi, all of them to get together and say, okay, let's make Congress as a stronger party to take on the BJP, even the 150, 120, 170 seats to strengthen, because we are not there. So let's do this. Do you see any of them swallowing their egos, because it's become such an egotistical thing now in the opposition, and that's the reason they're fragmented?
So that's why I said I'm not very optimistic. But that does not mean that it's not doable. I'll tell you why. Politics is dynamic. Let me give you two examples. 1977, or before, from the emergency in 75 till 77, the opposition was rudderless. I mean, there were leaders, different parties. There was an old man.
There was a JP.
There was an old man sitting in Sadakat Ashram in Patna who woke up and became a cementing glue for an opposition. I'm not saying it was a very successful experiment, but it was good enough to decimate the Congress party post the emergency. Let us take another example, which seems even more invincible. Rajiv Gandhi comes in 84 with 404 MPs. I mean, he seemed to be there forever.
Yeah.
And in 87, 8 people meet in a drawing room in Delhi. And you know who they are, VP Singh, Arun Nehru, Ramdhan, and so on and so forth. And out of nowhere, a VP Singh emerges.
A middle-class messiah to take on. Yes,
Yeah. I'm not saying it will happen. And let me not for a moment devalue the popularity of Narendra Modi ji. He is right now undoubtedly
Do you forget
the
there was
towering political figure in the country.
Do you remember the Anna movement also? So when Anna Hazare came, everybody, I mean, not everybody, but there was a section which thought that, okay, here's another person like a JP, who could. But he fizzled out, just like VP Singh fizzled out at one point of time. Now there's this talk that could it be Nitish? But there is one lot which say कि वो जो मंडलाइजेशन ऑफ पॉलिटिक्स था, वो मंडल एजिटेशन वाला पॉलिटिक्स, वो नहीं हो सकता. जो नीतीश जी का वो जो कास्ट बेस्ड पॉलिटिक्स सिस्टम है, वो बिहार तक में नहीं चल सकता. क्या वो देश भर में क्या उसका जादू चल सकता है?
No, there is a serious challenge now. I'm not saying it's mandal politics or let us say caste cohesion on certain issues of interest to those castes. It is a factor. But also we must understand that today that mandal instrument is being used against a political party which has 3 or 4 great intrinsic strengths, which is the BJP. First, they have a very popular leader. Secondly, they have a strong cadre and organization, if you combine it with the RSS cadre also. Thirdly, it's a 24/7 electoral machine.
Yeah.
And fourthly, they have, whether you agree with it or not, a narrative which essentially consists of 3 or 4 elements. Hindutva politics, hyper-nationalism, and I must say, partly successful welfareism, where targeted help has reached the poorest sections of society. So now if mandal politics by itself is pitted against this, it's not enough. You have to do something more.
So this Congress's Bharat Jodo Yatra is supposedly that, to galvanize the cadres, and once the cadres are galvanized, then fix a narrative. Maybe a year or 2 late in doing this, but then there was COVID or whatever. But that is the idea that the Congress has, that, that they need to, well, understandably so, that get their cadres. But, and you see, at every point of time, they have to battle a party which, as you say, has very strong cadre, has a narrative, knows how to take on the opposition and things, and the opposition looks divided. Now, there's another line which says that this pre-election unity moves is a lost game. Let's not do that. It happens after the election. This fragmented parties get together, and we've seen UPA 1, UPA 2. It works. So let's do that. Let's all get like our own little groups. Let KCR get his, let Mamta get hers. So once it's all done, then like you had a Mulayam or like you had a Harkishan Singh Surjeet getting together and post-election.
No, frankly, Smita, I'm not in favor of mere jod-tod politics. If the opposition does not put together a compelling narrative which appeals to people, merely an series of arithmetical permutations and combinations will not create a convincing political entity as opposed to the BJP. It will not.
Okay.
So, there are legitimate discontents. The opposition has not put its act together. I tell you, price rise. It's hurting people. I know for a fact the middle class has been reduced by almost 22%. The poor have become poorer. We live in a very unequal society where 1% of the rich own disproportionately the wealth and assets of this, while the poor have become poorer. There are no doubt achievements of the current government, but in spite of that, the global hunger index, India has gone down rather than up. So there are legitimate discontents.
So if you were to write your middle class book again, you would revisit it and maybe write a different story?
I'll tell you why I may write a different story. Because I know that Mr. Narendra Modi's strategy to begin with in his ascent to the pinnacle of the BJP was to first influence the middle class, because it has a ripple effect across the country. The middle class is a pan-Indian class. And he did that most successfully as a strong, decisive leader with a vision against the lackluster and somewhat unimpressive performance of UPA 2. So he emerged, and the middle class loves a messiah. And he came as one. Now, if the middle class is disillusioned, the BJP needs to worry. Because you can only do so much of Hindutva. People will go with Hindutva because I think there are reasons for a certain degree of Hindu backlash.